Good morning, wherever you are. Happy Sunday. I am Tonya Giddens, and I am pleased and honored to be the moderator for this roundtable for Romance 1600. This album is an album that fused funk, femininity, and fearless storytelling in a way the world wasn't ready for, but desperately needed. I am so thrilled to guide this conversation with three minds who lived, shaped, and still vibe with the music culture that we're honoring this Sunday morning. Before I get started, I would like to acknowledge the woman who pushes and pulls this train, D'Angela Duff. Thank you for your tenacity and dedication to keeping the purple flame alive. Now, let me introduce your panelists. Violet Brown is a civil rights attorney, constitutional law professor, musician, bassist, and Prince Girl Forever. Raised by two Prince fan parents, she grew up on his music. Purple Rain was the first song she learned to play on keys, musicology being the tour that changed her life. In addition to helping cultivate diversity in the Minnesota law school and legal worlds, Violet is a badass bass player. And she keeps positivity flowing about Prince, mutated via social media, locations, attending concerts, and continuing to support the work of real music by real musicians. So welcome, Violet.
Thank you, thank you.
We can't hear you, hon. There you go.
Tonya, I don't know why. Sometimes you're like freezing. So do you have a lot of windows open?
No, I don't actually. I do not.
Okay.
And this is in a separate window.
Okay.
I don't know what's happening.
Yeah, yeah, I think you're good now, but if it persists, what we might do, unfortunately, I really don't want you to do this, but you might have to hide your camera, and like sometimes if your system will still be able to hear you, and it'll probably be better. But let's try it out again and figure it out.
All right, so let's go on to the next panelist. Randy Ferguson is a multifaceted DJ, musician, playlist curator, musicologist, and diversity and inclusion professional. His passion for music began at a young age, starting with writing lyrics and composing music at just 12 years old. By 14, he was learning production. By 19, he was DJing professionally. Known for his curated playlists, Randy describes them as an album listening experience, having crafted over 20 of them. A lifelong fan of legends such as Prince, Michael Jackson, and Stevie Wonder, his deep dive into their music led him to explore the world of musicology. Randy aims to one day build his own entertainment conglomerate, dedicating his life to music. Randy brings a unique blend of expertise to his current role as program manager in diversity and inclusion at New York Presbyterian. So good morning, Randy.
Good morning, good morning.
And last but not least, the iconoclastic daughter of the Southern diaspora, Spelman, HBCU love, and DST turned BK tastemaker, DJ Monday Blue is a vinyl priestess with digital flex. I like that. A featured vinyl DJ at NYC Soho Grand Hotel. She's powered stages for Soul in the Horn, Black Girls Love Vinyl, 651 Arts, Virgin Hotels NYC, Buy From a Black Woman, and so many more, effortlessly blending genres and energizing diverse cultural spaces. Creator of Doyens of Disc, a vinyl party celebrating women's selectors, she continues to push sonic boundaries and grow community. So I welcome you, DJ Monday Blue.
Thank you.
And forgive me, DJ Monday Blue, because I know you by your government name, so I might slip up and call you that. So just bear with me. Okay, now let's get started into this album, Romance 1600. Released August 26, 1985, it followed Sheila E's 1984 debut album, The Glamorous Life. The lead single was Sister Fate, followed by Bedtime Story. I don't know why they picked that as the second single, but hey, it is what it is. But the standout hit was A Love Bazaar, a 12-minute, 18-second track, co-written by Prince. According to allmusic.com, while The Glamorous Life remains her most essential album, Romance 1600 is a strong follow-up and a must for Minneapolis funk rock fans. PressRewind.net notes the album's close creative ties to Prince, highlighting Sheila's own strong presence as a musician and collaborator. And they said, his fingerprints are all over this record, but so are Sheila's, which means that Prince must have respected her, not only as a musician, but also as a collaborator and songwriter. So now that I've gotten that out of the way, let's get to it. So let's take it back. Picture it, 1985. And anyone can answer this question. What do you remember when Romance 1600 dropped? And how did it disrupt or fit into that moment? Any one of you.
So, I remember when it dropped, that it coincided with Sheila E being in Crush Groove. And so everybody, and there was some kind of like, romance scene in the movie that she was in. And it was like the talk of my school. Like, I'm not going to date myself, but it was a talk of the school. Like, did you see Sheila E? Like, and everybody knew her from Glamorous Life because that was like the song, right? In 84. But it was like, oh my gosh, she's doing this and she's dope. She's playing the drums and she's in the movie and she's doing all of these things seemingly at the same time.
Anybody else want to chime in?
I will, just because DJ Monday Blue said Crush Groove, and for me, because I was a little kid, I remember that, and I feel like I remember the one guy, because I'm looking at your background, Tonya, singing Prince's parts, and I remember being mad about that, because that's not, I just remember thinking, that's not, but I was a kid, so yeah. Oh, and the other thing was that my dad had a big crush on Sheila E.
Oh, wow. And what about you, Randy?
Well, I wasn't a thought at 1985.
God.
I was 30 years old. I'm 30 now. So I was born in 94, right? So I came into the discovery of Prince / Sheila E in a later time. When you read that I was learning how to produce at the age of 14, that's where I started getting into Prince and learning, oh, this man produces all by himself and does everything by himself. Well, that's dope. I guess I didn't get to this album until probably like in my early 20s. I wasn't musically inclined to understand this or even Glamorous Life at that time. But I would say after reading this book and rediscovering this album again, because Love Bizarre. I mean, that's a Black staple in a household. I mean, you go to any barbecue. I'm from New York, so they don't play Love Bizarre like that. But I'm pretty sure if you go to the South or even Cali, they're bumping it crazy, right?
Right.
But me as a musicologist, learning about Love Bizarre, learning it from Crush Groove, which I also saw the movie. Can't be a New Yorker and be a historian of hip hop. You don't watch that movie, and just learning that Sheila E came from that movie, and then learning that she came from the Prince camp. But not even that, she came even before the Prince camp. She was a musician on her own with her own family. Rediscovering this album, understanding the history behind it, that it's a funk album. It's a funk album collaboration between Prince and Sheila, and there's more Sheila collaboration in here than say Glamorous Life. So just discovering this album and living in the moment was a unique experience for me. And I know we'll talk more later about the album and how I feel about it, but it's my favorite Sheila E album. I'll definitely tell you that. And yes, I had a crush on Sheila E as well too. Violet.
Great. All right. Violet, do you think consumers got Sheila E as a solo artist, or was she still seen as Prince's protege?
Ooh, interestingly, because I'm thinking back then and now, I guess it's just the people that know, right? But commercially, out in the world, maybe not so much. She just was seen kind of like a protege, but people knew. There definitely are people that know. I just know there are the people that are kind of, I don't want to use the word dilettante, but you know what I mean. The kind of people they kind of know, but they don't really know. So
Right.
they have a surface level understanding.
Right.
That's kind of the way I'm thinking about it. Yeah, yeah. I think there are people today that still do that. So there's that
Yeah,
part.
I would tend to agree with you on that, definitely. Randy, do you think as a label, Warner Brothers understood the power of Sheila's persona in marketing Romance 1600? Or were they packaging her through someone else's lens?
I'll say this. I think in Glamorous Life, they were trying to pitch Sheila as her own solo act, even though, yes, Prince was in the record, but you really didn't hear him in the record, right? So if you see the music videos and the promotional concerts that she was doing or shows that she was doing, say like Solid Gold or in the Grammys, she was trying to be more of herself. But again, you dress in lace and the stuff that Prince was wearing at the time, it's kind of hard to differentiate, right? Of hey, is she following Prince's footsteps, or she's a part of the culture? And then you move into Romance 1600, and you see her still in that same outfit. As the Purple Rain era is about to leave, she's still in that outfit. So it's like, it's very Prince coded. But I would say this, Crush Groove, which I think dropped in August of 85. Then came the album Romance 1600, and also Crush Groove was produced by Warner Brothers. And again, Warner Records did drop Romance 1600. I think Warner Brothers was trying to promote Sheila E more of the hip hop stage or the era at that time. It didn't work out like everybody was saying on the show, like, because Crush Groove gave early hip hop gave Sheila E the cold shoulder, right? Even when Holly Rock was in the movie too, that was a this she could be hip hop, but it didn't feel hip hop. I don't think the streets was feeling Sheila like that in Holly Rock. Love Bizarre, different story. So I think Warner Brothers had an idea, they had a concept. Did it finish the way they wanted to or Sheila wanted to? I don't think so.
Fair enough. Now, Monday Blue. When you listen to the album, particularly tracks like A Love Bizarre or even Toy Box, what do you hear musically that's unique to Sheila and this album?
And listening in my head, I'm like, So, So it's interesting that you're hearing the hip hop sound, because what I'm hearing was just very interesting as Prince was, he technically has only credit for co-writing and producing on A Love Bizarre, right? But both those tracks, it has a very psychedelic feel to it, to me, actually. It's heavy, it's a lot of percussion and bass, but then these elements of, yeah, I would say psychedelica and funk, um, which was different from from other, to me, it's other music that was out in that time, 85, which is very, especially if you're thinking about R&B, urban music, it was very synth heavy, synth driven.
Right.
So I think she's giving you more of full instrumentation, like more of a full band experience, which I think a lot of the band sounds have been, again, replaced by synthesizers, right? Everybody was cutting back and doing that sound. So that's what I really think about. It was interesting, and it was very kind of like simpatico with what you hear on Around the World in a Day. But this is her album. So this is, well, you're probably going to ask us about this, so I don't know if I should hold off. But I do have this question: is that with on the album itself, right? On the album, everything about it, it's like Sheila E, written, produced by Sheila E, except for this one track, that people still think that Prince was responsible for writing the majority of the songs. I don't know. That's I find that interesting. It's one thing, you can be collaborators and being, hanging around people, and that can definitely influence you, right?
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean that that wasn't of her own creation. So I'm just wondering why there is that, because a lot of things I looked up, a lot of different sources seem to say that. Why is that? That's my question for everyone. I'm curious about that.
It's interesting. Violet, I'll let you answer that.
It's because people are lazy. I'm just gonna go ahead and say it. So what happens is, some of us are like Prince nerds, and we spend all the time we looking up and we going to see this and some people don't do that. They just make assumptions. And with Prince, because people do know that he does all the writing and composing and all that different stuff, they just make assumptions. The same way as, here comes this beautiful woman that can play. Oh yeah, she must just be someone he picked, as opposed to having had a career prior to meeting him.
Right.
That's my 2 cents.
And people tend to forget, and I mentioned this last year when I participated in the Glamorous Life symposium, the presentation, that she had a career before Prince. She was well known in the industry as a percussionist. She even played violin with Marvin Gaye, so she had this full career before Prince. But I think it also goes to show you that the industry still has just a touch of misogyny, just a touch, I know. So it doesn't surprise me at all. It really doesn't.
I'll even add to this as well too, of the people's lazy aspect. They're not listening to the records deeply enough to hear that's Prince on the background. If you hear it in Strawberry Shortcake, right? Or you hear it in Oliver's House, or you hear it in Sister Faith, even throughout the album of Romance 1600, Prince is in the background, deep in the mix. And now we have Dear Michelangelo on the originals, and now you can't hear the Sheila E version without hearing Prince's version in your head, right?
Yes.
So it's the fact that yes, it's still a Prince project, but yes, Sheila E is covering it. But if you're not really listening and being in tune of the records, you're missing the fact that this is a Prince and Sheila record.
Absolutely. Let's talk about the music. When I say the music, instrumentation, fusion of funk, Latin rhythm, and theatrical drama. How did this sound set her apart from other women in music at the time? Questions up for anybody. Go ahead, Monday. I was about to call you by your government name. Go ahead.
Okay, so I think that, especially again, 1985, right? So, that's when, you still have that's Patti LaBelle, like doing big, like Pointer Sisters. They're doing these big, they're doing big hits, and they've moved, and their sound has evolved, right? It's a whole different era. Again, urban contemporary, urban R&B, in a still very segregated music culture. And even though you had the Mary Jane girls, right, because I think they're talking about kind of, in my house, it's sexuality, sensuality from a woman's point of view. Her lyrics are very vulnerable. Like, she's very much talking about longing and desire, but being very direct about it. But it's also very poetic. It's so interesting. Like on Yellow, she's like, I'm yearning for you, my lover. I don't know if I'm going to see you. Can you come? When are you going to come and take me? What are we going to do? It's very, again, like you said, theatrical. Um, and I think, again, just the poetry and also just the way the album sounds is very different than anything that was out at that time, very honestly. Like, it doesn't sound like anything from that era, to be very honest, which is refreshing. But then that also, outside of A Love Bazaar, which was very like, it's got a groove, right? As we said, it's like a backyard, a barbecue cookout staple. There's a lot of tempo changes. It's not super danceable. It's not a super danceable album, generally speaking, if you listen to it.
Absolutely.
However, but the tempo changes make it interesting, and maybe that really talks about, and honestly, and I'm thinking about it, the tympanic changes kind of relate to maybe desire from a female point of view, because it's not, nobody wants the same tempo all the time.
Wow.
So to speak.
Oh, we went deep with it. Okay.
All right, this is not after 6. Let's keep it. This still early in the morning. It's a Sunday. We're still praising the Lord on a Sunday.
It's 6 o'clock somewhere.
Well, I know that's right. How much, and we touched on this a few minutes ago, how much of this album feels like pure Sheila, and how much of Prince's fingerprint is on this album? Go ahead, Randy.
Yeah, I answer that since we have the history of it now, right? I would say it's more, as I said earlier, right? There's more contribution from Sheila, right? If we hear the beginning of Sister Faith, right? Of that 15-second intro, that was her and a couple of her band members doing all the music, right? You get to the hold on, let me get the name right. was it Mercy for the Speed of the Mad Clown in the Summer. Sorry, I had to get that right. That, I think that's all Sheila's band as well too, right? So that's a collaboration right there. You didn't hear any Sheila's band in the first album. It was just straight Prince, and Prince gave it. She was like, "Hey, here you go. Just add in some congos and some percussion, and we good money, right?" Even though yes, she did that on the second album, but I feel like there was a more of a collaboration, songwriting a little as well because of, again, Sister Faith and the history behind it, of that, there was a rumor going on with Princess Sheila, even though it was true, that, they were just messing around in the background, and, they wanted to, make it marketable for everybody to listen to. So you had Sister Faith in there. And also, the B-side, oh, not
Children.
thank you. That one. I think that's a straight Sheila song with little to no Prince collaboration on it, because it sounds so different than the records or even Holly Rock. I think that's a Sheila record. So I would say more collaboration of Sheila in this album.
What about you, Violet?
Yeah, I'm just thinking about it. One of the things when we talk about women at that time, as far as people who were doing the instrumentation and singing, that wasn't, we were past switch. You know how we had people where it was the whole band and everybody was doing a thing. Like we even mentioned Patti LaBelle. I'm thinking powerhouse singers that their whole thing is singing. When you're the person that's writing the song, singing the song, playing the instruments on the song, it just sounds different. And I was listening to what Randy was saying. I think that's kind of where you can come up with a number for who has more influence on this album, is because you can definitely tell the songs that it's all her, versus the songs when they come together. So there's his sound, there's their sound together, and then she has a sound as well, and you definitely pick up on that as you're listening to the album.
That is true. Now, before we go on to the next segment, thank you all for joining us this morning on this beautiful Sunday morning. If you have any questions, comments, peaches, firecrackers, please put them in the Q&A box. It should be on the bottom of your screen. So let us continue. Okay. I love fashion. Anybody who knows me knows that. Let's talk about the look of Romance 1600. The corsets, the filigree lace, the sword-wielding vibe. It was bold at the time. What do you think Sheila was trying to convey with that look?
Okay. I just have to say one thing that's so cool about this, and Sheila, I don't know, ahead of her time. The kids today are like, you want to romanticize everything. Everyone in the band has a different name for this album. You know what I mean? So she's giving you, we're in this time. It's kind of like Afrofuturism, but like it actually I think it's a form of Afrofuturism, but with a look back to the past, right? But she has, yes, exactly, right? Right. But it's hard to read because she has the lyrics are like in this pink font over a not, it's very difficult to read, but Susie D as Dame Kelly. I think she's saying like we're in control, we're giving you something new, a little different, we're putting our twist on it, but we really want you to get into this period. We're creating a moment, a mood, a world. And that's one thing I've always appreciated about Prince and Prince and the Purple family in general, is that they're doing world creation. And so I think this is just her taking it to the next level in a way I didn't think you saw with Glamorous Life per se. You know what I mean? This is again very the new romantic movement have been going on for a while, like with New Wave. So there was a look, the ruffles in the hair, but she's still putting like a funky, melanated twist on it. So to me, it's romantic world building, wanting you to immerse yourself in what we're doing in this project and the energy.
I love that Chris Bourne, forgive me if I'm mispronouncing your name, Chris Bourne wrote, someone the other day called the look Bridgerton funk. That's hot. That's hot. Yes, I agree. And yes, Mel Smith, the thigh-high boots were fire. Yes. Yes. And I remember, and I'm really dating myself now, when when Sister Fate hit, I was up watching New York Hot Tracks. And she came in wearing the hats and the heels and everything. And I was like, ooh, this is kind of funky. And that made me want to go to VIM and get a pair of jeans. Yes, I'm dating myself. Just like that when she wore it in the Love Bazaar. So I think stylistically, it was definitely ahead of its time, because no one at that time was really rocking that. I'm sorry, did one of you have something to say? I think Randy, go ahead.
I was gonna say that yesterday somebody said that Prince was the only one that could rock lace like that. I'll say Sheila E could rock lace like that as well too. And I mean, there's a reason why Prince was attracted, but not only attracted, but saw her as his counterpart, as his alter ego, as his protege, because he saw himself within her, right? So he gave the best of himself to her. But not only that, she just took it and went to a whole nother level, right? From the other proteges, you kind of see they're following him. Like you see them at his coattails. Not saying anything negative or bad about it, but you got that feeling, right? But then we get to Sheila E. It's like, yeah, she was following him for a while, but then she just changed course and did her own thing. Because why? Like we all said, she had a career beforehand, right? So she knows how to market herself. She knows how to differentiate herself, right? But with the fashion, with the clothing, I mean, even when Prince was wearing at the time, that was the culture in 1985. It was lace. It was, let's dress up as Bridgerton, and let's go out. I mean, look at Ready for the World. Oh, Sheila. I mean, there we go. And they were all dressed up like Prince, So not only that she was dressed in lace and all that, but that was the culture, and she was the culture in 1985. If she wasn't a culture, she wouldn't have been on Crush Groove, and Crush Groove was the pinpoint or the pressure of the time of hip hop or just urban music, black music at 1985. You saw the transition from funk, R&B, even the Minneapolis sound now getting transferred over to hip hop, and that's what we've been for the past 40 years. So yeah, with the clothing show the culture, and she was a culture.
Fair enough. And that kind of segues into what my next question is, and this is for any of you. Was the industry ready for a woman playing drums, owning her sexuality, and commanding the stage like that?
And Reagan America, no.
You have to forgive me. It's an attorney thing. I definitely parse every word and start thinking about, well, it could be if, and it depends, all this kind of stuff. Because I started thinking the industry. That's a very specific thing. And I think DJ Monday Blue mentioned it, kind of how things were segregated at that point. So looking at it from that perspective, that does get you to what Randy just said about the Reagan era and all that kind of stuff. Because I know in my household, oh, we was ready, right? But when you say industry 1985, maybe not so much. And I did want to add Bridgerton Funk. I love that. Also, Boss Vibes. Boss Vibes. She just has that thing. Before they had girl bosses, she had that going on.
Right. I have a question. Actually, I have two questions, but we're going to go one at a time in order to space out a bit. This is from C. Lee McInnes. People often discuss how Prince shaped his protege's images. Can you all discuss how Sheila impacted Prince's image and how people may have perceived him by being connected with Prince?
I'll answer that question. So, just trying to think how I'm gonna answer this.
As honest as possible. Be as honest
Well,
as
here's the
you
thing,
can.
right? Sheila impacted Prince before Prince became Prince, because as we remember that Prince, I think after the first album, visit her family. I can't say the family's name, so I'm not gonna try. But he went to go visit her, and he played with Sheila and her family. So he already was, not want to say obsessed, but enthralled. That's a great word. Enthralled of the musicality and the passion that she had. So I know that by that time they kind of separated for a bit, and then they came back together around like 83, 84, when now Prince is that guy. And now that they're both musically compatible, that Prince saw Sheila's Latin roots, right? And again, we all know that Prince loved his Oakland music. He loved his Oakland band. I mean, if we want to go deep into it, if we want to go bands even more further, 2/3 of Prince's band was from Sheila's band. I mean, you look at the Signs of the Time band, Love Sexy band, right? They ain't going to the New Tour band. They ain't going to Diamonds and Pearls, and so on and so forth. Most musicians was from Sheila's band, and Prince always had a touch on what Sheila was doing. I think throughout the years, Prince was like, what's Sheila doing? What's Sheila doing, right? If you look at 96, Rhonda Smith, where did Rhonda Smith come from? Again, Sheila's band, right? So Prince needed Sheila more than Sheila needed Prince. And I'm going to end it like that.
Bam.
Well, all right then. I guess
There
I
you
can't
have
add
it.
much to that. I mean, that is exactly where I was going to go with it, because I was thinking about Levi and all those people.
And
I thought about
Miko
Rhonda.
and
That's the first person
Miko,
I thought about.
Eddie,
Yeah,
all of them.
yeah.
Yeah.
So
Bonnie.
that part of it is because that affects your whole sound, right? The other thing I was going to say was Santana, because there's that connection there with Sheila Escobedo and Carlos, right? And we know how Prince felt about him, but that Latin sound with some of the songs, like he had a Santana medley that he would always play, and that kind of thing. So I'm just thinking the music part of it, the Bay Area musicians, I know they always represent. I'm sure some of them are in the chat right now, but that's where I would say a huge part of the influence. Oh, and also competitiveness. I love to see them playing drums together, kind of going against each other. That whole thing that they had. She definitely has masculine energy that will make her a good homeboy to a dude, like that kind of thing. Which one of the things about her I love.
Absolutely. Sheila's identity as an Afro-Latina artist. Do you think it's been fully acknowledged in the narrative, this broad narrative of pop and funk history? Anybody?
I'll just say maybe not
Oh.
as much as it should be, maybe. I mean, she definitely puts it out there. And, I saw her maybe 4 or 5 months ago, and she's got her brothers on the stage, dad on the stage, like the whole thing. So there's that. But I will say, I'm thinking back just over the years, people didn't know Escovedo. They knew Sheila E. and Crush Groove. And, again, coming from that segregated time where you had to fit in a box, I would say maybe it wasn't acknowledged as much as maybe it should have been going backward.
Fair enough. Another question. I'm sorry, Randy, you want to say something?
I was going to add, I don't think today's time people even recognize her as Afro-Latina anyways. That's what I see, if you look at any Black History Month, not even Black History Month, right? But just the history of Black history or of Black music history, right? You don't see Sheila E. in those books or in conversations because of the fact that when you look at Afro-Latina, you see the Latina part. Yes, we see Sheila, again, I'm not going to say her last name because I can't pronounce it right now. But that's what they see, right? And they hear the Latin infused music, right? Even though as us culture people here on this call know that Latin music and African music are very similar and unison together because it comes from the drums, right? And the drums is the foundation of just African and Latin music, right? But people seem more so hang on the Latin side than the Afro side of her, right? And yes, if we do research, then we'll say she's an Afro-Latina, but people are lazy, like we said this morning, right? And they don't want to do the research. So I'll say even today's time, even in the internet and everything that we have right now, people are still not going to connect to her as a Afro Latina. And thank you. I will try to mispronounce her name as I get off this mic. Her last name. Thank you for the.
I have another question from Mr. McInnes. Can you all discuss how Sheila impacted the notion of empowering women as a musician and band leader with Romance 1600?
Oh my gosh, yeah, because she, like you said, I think Violet said earlier, she gave you boss, boss woman, boss. But when she toured for Romance 1600, it's her. She's the band leader. She's conducting the band. She's driving the tempo changes. She's doing it all. She's in her element and she's very comfortable doing that. And I'll also say just as a person, we're talking about like marketing and how people like how artists have been packaged, and her sensuality and her sexuality was very much played up. Like, I mean, she's talented, she's a boss, she's a drum leader, but they didn't shy away from showing her body and showing her in a sensual way. I can't tell you how many men, my cousins, anybody at school, the lunch table, everybody had a crush on Sheila E. Like, I mean, it got to be a little irritating. So I love her, but I was like, okay, we're dragging it a little bit, okay. But I mean, she really is the whole package. She gave you everything, like everything that the girlies, the young girlies are striving to be now. She was giving it all to you. Um, so I think and I think again, kind of related to what Randy said, like if you don't do your research and know just like her whole history, how long she's been playing music, that she's been playing with her family, that she's been doing percussion and other work for other artists, even before she met Prince, it's even more like awe-inspiring because she was evolving publicly and doing it well, and that's not easy for an artist to do. I'm still kind of just in general. That's one thing, you think about Prince and all the different eras and changes he went through, but Sheila also did that as well. And there are many artists that, that started out in the 60s and 70s. I think a lot about Ashford and Simpson. Um, I'm trying to think who, like, I think about it from time to time, but how they were able, Luther Vandross even, like, as producers and vocalists and artists, how they were able to evolve their sound, stay true to their roots in a way, but to make
Roberta
it
Flack.
Roberta Flack, yes, and make it of the moment. That's very
Yes.
challenging to do, especially when you look at the current era where it's like people like, okay, well, we do 3 albums, you don't evolve, and then people are like, okay, your career's over, that's it, you've met the moment, there's no more moment for you to meet. But these are people who are creating the moments continually for decades. Not many people are able to do that, and she's definitely one of the ones who has been able to do it even now, and she's still touring, she's still writing songs, she's still a band leader. It's a true testament to her artistry and her being a strong woman doing her thing.
And it's interesting because this year was the year she won her first Grammy. And it wasn't for a pop or R&B. It was for the Latin album she put out with the song Bimbo Colora, the Celia Cruz cover. She won a Grammy for that after how many years in the industry? So I think that it's interesting now that she's starting to finally get the recognition that she rightfully deserves. Looking, regardless of all the other things that have happened throughout the years, she is starting to finally get that recognition. And I say kudos to her. I was reading, the album clocks in at under 39 minutes total. And nowadays with yes, Chris, exactly. Comments, the Latin Grammys gave Sheila and her father well-deserved lifetime achievement. Yes, indeed. In the time, the length of the album, would that work in today's era?
Yes, it's still doing it now. I mean, you look at Pink Panthers, she got 2-minute songs, 1.5 minute songs, but yet we're living in a world right now, and I'm going to tie it up to to 1985. We live in a world right now where it's TikTok, where TikTok music, you have a minute, not even a minute, you got 10 seconds to grab somebody's attention. You gotta make things sound really fire, right? Again, I'm a DJ, right? And I'm 30 years old. So I live on TikTok and I research what's going on TikTok, and you got to grab people's attentions very fast, right? So as I take this concept and I put it in 1995, where yes, people have more time, but again, now we're living in a world of MTV. MTV and TikTok were the culture. I mean, TikTok's a culture now. MTV was a culture now, right? I'm pretty sure. Again, I wasn't born in 1985 when the when the Love Bizarre music video came on MTV, and I'm pretty sure in 20 or 30 seconds for y'all, it's like, okay, I got my attention to grab it right now before I change the channel to go to whatever channel you want to go to, right? But it grabbed your attention. You saw the costume and the backgrounds, and you're like, oh, this is a moment. This is fine. Oh wait, this is from a movie. Well, I gotta listen to more of this music. This sounds great. And then you go and get the album. And then you get the album, it's under 40 minutes, and it's like, perfect. I don't have to spend an hour to sit down and try to conceptualize what's going on, right? Because we just got out of Purple Rain, which is what, a 45-minute album, right? It's just hits by hits by hits by hits. It was also a consensual album at the end of the day, right? With Romance 1600, it's a very loose concept, right? Like Deandra said in the chat, it's called Sheila E and Romance 1600. So you are getting a play on an album. And if you look in the back of the album cover, it says Act 1, Act 2, Act 3. So you're getting a play in under an hour. It's funky, it gets right to the point, and it grabs your attention for people that are within that, I won't say the purple world, but in that funk world, right? But again, it wasn't that accessible to everybody, because if it was, then it would have been sounding like hotcakes. But it wasn't accessible to everybody, right? And again, it was, I think, also by the time it was August of 85, yeah, the Minneapolis sound was starting to transition. It's kind of getting faded away, and then you started getting the come up of hip hop, right? And also that was around the time where Prince was really, really, really quiet in the public eye, right? And also Michael Jackson as well. Both of them were very quiet in that public eye. So you had other people be voices for them. And I think Sheila E was lost in the sauce of all that. So I think that's why the album did what it did. But did it grab people's attention? It did, but not as, say, worldwide. So that's how I will answer that question.
I'm reading the comments in the chat, and Vanessa, hi Vanessa, Roseanne Vanessa Warren says, the vinyl format forced artists to put forward their strongest tracks due to time constraints. And that makes absolute sense. And then Tammy says, the short attention span of this generation will be a hindrance in the future. They cannot participate in active listening. Yeah, everything, it's as if they want it now, and there's no retaining of the information or of the music. They just want it and go on to the next thing. So yeah, I totally get that. Okay, this question goes out to Violet. The way this album performed commercially versus critically, how do you think what does it say, I should say, what does this say about the times at that time?
Kind of what I said earlier, as far as critics, because there were limitations on who the critics are and whose voices get heard. So that's always kind of a thing for me. Coming out of 1985, the power is in certain hands. I know who listened to what in real time, but I think I don't think you get a true picture of the genius or the talent or how great an album is based on, especially in the 80s, what critics are saying or what it's doing commercially. Because I just think there are a lot of, the way my mind works, there are a lot of limitations there that are out of the artist's control, especially an artist of color, out of their control, that I think overshadow that.
So I'm going to ask a question. Oh, Tanya's back.
Yes.
Awesome. There we go.
Go ahead, D'Angela. You can go ahead.
Okay, so Celie has a question in the chat, and the question is, people often discuss how Prince shaped his protege's images. Can y'all discuss how Sheila impacted? Oh, no, we already asked.
Yeah, we did that one. Maury has a question.
Maury has a question. So how did Romance 1600 use the Romance period style and theatrics to reshape pop culture in 1985? And how did that bold move push Sheila forward as an artist, owning her image, power, and sound?
That's a good question, Maury.
So I'm gonna go with DJ Monday Blue first, and then you can popcorn it from there.
Okay, thank you, D'Angela. That is a great question. So again, I think so we talked about this a little bit, but she's continuing, right, Randy? We talked about she's continuing kind of like this image that Prince did, but she cut the hair, right? Her hair was longer for Glamorous Life, but she cut the hair, is highlighted. And that might be, sometimes for a woman, for anyone, let me just say that, for anyone, cutting your hair, right? Can mark significant new beginnings,
Yes,
or like
change
you're
your
trying to
change your life. Yes.
right. So maybe this is her saying like, so I'm coming to the forefront now. Like, in the Princeverse. Can I say that? The Princeverse. She's stepping to the forefront. I'm leading my band, like we talked about that. She has her band solidified. So the haircut, and the new styling and embracing that style and having everybody in her band, it's like she's drawing them into her world as well. While it's a continuation of Prince had gone on to do something. He was shifting, right, around this time, around the world in a day. His image, something totally different, right? But she's like, I'm going to still drive this look. But then if you look again at the concert footage from that era when she toured for this, she's giving you she's giving you like not just romantic costumes, but it's like thematic based upon the songs, right? And she's giving you props, and she's giving you storytelling, and and it's very much giving her. It doesn't give Prince. When I watch the footage from the concert, it's very much she telling the story, driving the narrative, and she's doing it, with the support of all these talented musicians she's found to play with her. So I'm sorry, I got lost in the question. I forgot the original question a little bit, but I just, but that's what I see with that. Like that's really what she telegraphed and gave during that era. That she's in the forefront. This is her point of view, and this is what she wants you to get across, and this is the energy she's giving.
Go ahead, Randy.
Sure, I thought Violet was gonna go, but I'll go. So I would say that in Romance 1600 solidified the Romance period style, because I think right after in Romance 1600, I think the Romance period just faded away. And I mean, again, I wasn't born in 85 or 86, so I could be proven wrong, so please do correct me on this, right? But from what I understand in a historical point of view, is I feel like Romance 600 was the last romance period style, then it faded away to hip hop, right? But like DJ Monday Blue said, right, it solidified also Sheila's look, Sheila's sound, that era of Sheila, like that was her, right? She didn't have to go lace or look. Again, I'm gonna use the word Bridgerton, and that, but she did, and she owned up to it, right? And she had the band dress up as they are, and the music reflected the outfit, the costume. It did. For example, again, let's say that name again, Mercy for the Speed of the Mad Clown in the Summer. And when I hear that music, I picture this. I picture that album cover. I picture the band dressed as that, because that's what the music makes the clothes sound. That makes sense, right? So it did push Sheila as an artist, and then you get to 1987 with the self-titled album. Yes, she flipped everything. But if you listen to, was it Love on the Blue Train? Or is that song after Hold Me?
Yeah, that was the last song on the album, on that
That's
album.
on the album. And what's that song after Hold Me? It was like
Faded
a Latin.
Photographs.
Yes. That's a Latin straight driven track. And when I hear that song, it reminds me of In Romance 1600, right? So I do say that Sheila E owned that romance period, and it influenced her throughout the later of her career.
I'm loving reading these comments. It's funny, particularly about Sheila's hair. This is a great point, Chris Bornay. Sheila's asymmetrical blonde highlights were very hip hop, like Pepper from Salt and Pepper. Ha! Which is why it baffles me that the hip hop community didn't fully embrace her. Well, a hairstyle does not hip hop make. That's one thing. But also, again, at that time, this was to me, and Monday and Violent Randy, you can step in. This was basically during the golden age of hip hop. So she would not have been considered one of the OGs of hip hop. She was just a visitor, just passing through. Monday or Violet, maybe you can co-sign.
Yes. Oh, Violet. Oh, okay. So I just have to say very much so. So this is what people I don't think remember. Like it's very interesting looking back, but in the moment, hip hop was new sound and it was very much like you did some people, for many people, it was like, I'm doing hip hop. You did R&B or you did hip hop.
Right.
And there was this notion that I've talked to, and this is just lived experience anecdotally. I talked to like a number of men, it seemed like men especially, who are very much into hip hop, said they didn't listen to Prince or anything associated with him because it was soft. It was like, I'm doing hip hop. Prince is talking about some fish, dark purple, rainbows, clouds, love, woman, God, sex, to, you know what I mean? Like, no, I'm listening to hip hop. And then later they'll be like, oh man, Prince is really great, but I was so much in this hip hop era. So Sheila E, while she had like, again, a lot of visual appeal, right, to hip hop, which is still what very much is changing a little bit. Well, that's a whole other conversation, but it was very much a male dominated genre, very male dominated, right, with a little touch of misogyny, right, and sexism, just a little bit, right. Um, so like so even though she's giving the sex appeal, like the sounds are so different. Like you know what I mean? The sounds are so different. She's talking about relationships and longing and loving and being in charge of her sexuality. That was not a thing in hip hop. It just wasn't. And even the women who were in hip hop, they weren't really talking about Salt and Pepper more so. They might have been doing it the most, but in general, women in hip hop didn't really talk about sex like that or their sexuality and things in that nature. It was like apples and oranges, right? You know what I mean? They're next to each other in the bin at the store, but you weren't mixing them together like that.
I'm gonna piggyback off of that because I 100% agree, and I'm thinking because Crush Groove, you have like Curtis Blow, like it was a very particular type of music. I know when people think hip hop now, they think of all the different genres, and you have all these different coasts and all. It was in New York, and it was very like it looked a certain way, it sounded a certain way. I'm thinking about what's the song? It's like a jungle. Sometimes it makes me want to like that kind of stuff. That it was a different. It was very very separate. Like if you looked at it now with all the because you have all these different genres of hip hop. Like there's like the death hip hop or whatever you call it. There's all these different ways you can do it. Back then it was kind of it was Beat Street, breaking, Crush Groove, that sound.
Boy,
don't forget the second one, Electric Boogaloo.
Electric Boogaloo.
Zahir, shout out to Zahir Ali. He says, I think there was an underlying class divide emerging in Black music. Okay, between what Prince and Sheila presented and what hip hop was doing, even in aesthetics and clothes. That divide was a theme in Crush Groove.
Listen, I watched the movie a long time ago. I forgot when, but even just watching and listening to the music, you got a lot of those 4x4s like, yo, my name is right, and you're watching the growth of Run MDMC in this movie, right? So you got that heavy hip hop beats going on, and then you got the Lynn drum groove, and you got that nursery rhyme going on. Say, it throws off. It just throws it off. I get it that Prince with the fire beats that he had, and then Sheila E with the same Lynn drum groove that was going on around '84. Because yeah, Prince was fuego in '84. Who didn't listen to Prince in '84? And then you had Sheila E with Glamorous Life, and that was going on. That was fire. So yeah, Sheila E was the next hot girl in town, and yes, she did relate it towards the Crush Groove era, but I think Prince wanted his input in hip hop, but it did not translate really, really, really well. Even with Holly Rock. Holly Rock felt more of a jam than a hip hop song. Yes, she got the lyrics, she got the groove, right? She was spitting, but also the music did not translate well into the movie. Where you got Curtis Blow come in, or you had Run DMC do a thing, or even LL Cool J at his early time doing what he was doing at that time. It was two vastly completely things, and that's where I think Prince's early foray into hip hop did not translate well.
I want to add to that real quick because I was just thinking about the sound. It was very sample driven hip hop back then.
Yes.
So I mean that was the thing that hooked you as you heard a sample. And I remember this being a kid, my parents would be, oh, that's that so and so, so and so. And I'm like, and my dad would make us listen to the original and all that. Whereas like you think about Holly Rock or anything that Prince and Sheila were doing at that time, it would always be their original stuff. It just hits different when you're trying to rap over that. It gives you a different feeling altogether.
Right. I agree 100%.
Oh, sorry. Can I just say this too? I apologize. So here, that was a great point about the class divide. But like, and then Chris, you asked about the difference, like why was hip hop accepting of MJ? But you have to remember, like, and I think we've talked about this at prior symposia too. Prince's presentation physically, like his presentation was very compared to Michael Jackson. It was very femme. It was glam. It was a lot of different things. He was pushing boundaries that although there was like context for that because like all the funk groups were wearing high-waisted tie like tube tops, bell bot, they were wearing everything. But like by that time in the 80s there was conservative backlash in many ways, right? People went from afros to the Jerry curl, right?
Don't
People
knock it.
Tonya, please.
I'm just saying.
But right, so I'm not gonna knock it, but it was a shift. It was a shift. And so I think that it's not just class divide, but especially with hip hop, hip hop is very homophobic genre in general. Like that's changing a little bit, but there's a lot of homophobia in hip hop. But that's probably related to it being a very homosocial genre and people's inability to deal with that. But that's a whole other conversation. But I think it's not just class, but is that was also a point with why hip hop was just like with Prince, like, but Sheila E, she fine, but it's still, he was just doing something different.
I got you. And you know what? This question is for you, Monday. Where does Romance 1600 sit in your crate as a DJ? And what tracks do you play that still hit on the dance floor?
So you know what? So I mean, clearly Love Bazaar. That's what I play. That's what people know. Now, when I have done live streams, like if I'm streaming, there's a little more freedom. And I have played the Dear Michelangelo because I like that track, and I've played it in sets before where it's like a little more freedom and it's not necessarily dance driven. And I would like to, probably do some toy box. So this is my goal. I'm learning how to. I finally starting to take lessons and learning how to produce. That's a whole other, like, do DJ edits or remixes. So these are some of the things I would like to do on top of my list are to make tracks from this album, like especially within the purple canon, make them a little more accessible to the dance floor, because I think there's a lot of songs that are overlooked and missed. Like people tend to re-edit and remix and redo the same popular songs, which is fine,
Right.
and I get that, but I think there's a lot that could be done with this album. So I'm looking forward to doing that, actually. So that's one of the things I was thinking about preparing for this panel.
Okay. Would this album be received differently if it dropped today? Do you think it would hit?
I think Love Bizarre would hit no matter what decade or year that we're in. It's just a familiar groove. And this is what I've been really wanted to say all week. And I'm happy I can say this right here, right? A Love Bizarre is a nursery rhyme song. It's a nursery rhyme funk song because the melody it has a very familiar sound. It's like, this feels very nursery rhymey, but also just straight funky at the same time too. Or even if you get to the 8 minute part of the song when it goes down, 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 right? It's just the familiarity of that sound, and also the fact that it also pushes the Minneapolis sound and pushes that Lynn drum sound that everybody was. I needed that sound now because that's how you sell records. That track right there, that record right there would help the album to be more not even accessible, popular in this day and age, especially right now where you're hearing a lot of Lynn drums coming back in popular tracks, right? For example, Chappelle Roan's songs, right? You hear a lot of Lynn drums in it, right? You got that little feint of pop Prince in her songs, right? So yeah, this record can exist today and still be TikTok worthy to play in, you know.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm reading these comments. You guys are killing me here about the Jerry curls and the Dax and the follow the drips. You guys are killing me, and I thank you for these comments. If you have any questions, by all means, please put them in the Q&A box. I do a couple of more. Take Love Bizarre out of this. What is your favorite track on the album? And what is your least favorite track? So let's start with Violet.
If you take Love Bizarre out, my favorite would be Bedtime Story. I like that one. Least favorite? I mean, I like all of the songs. I kind of like the jazz of Yellow. I guess maybe that would be my least favorite if I had a least favorite on there.
Okay. Monday.
I would have to say, again, I enjoy Toy Box and I do like Dear Michelangelo. I have to say Mercy for sorry, I have to get
For
the
the
Mercy
speed of a Mac Lamb
thank you.
and stuff.
That's it's an interesting listen. It's interesting.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Something I have to listen to, you know what I mean? After repeatedly listen to. So again, I wouldn't say it's like, well, could I say least favorite? I just have to listen to it a lot. I'll say that.
I'll say DJ Monday. If you listen to the Mercy track, just listen to the bass. That drives the groove. And that's what when I started listening to it, that's really got me locked onto the song. And it was like, this is a funky song. Wow. And then it goes to the breakdown. Dun, 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 dun. I think that's the most funkiest part in all the album. Even in Love Bizarre. That's the funkiest part of the album. So definitely take a listen to it again. To answer your question, Tonya, my favorite track, and I agree with DJ Monday Blue, is Toy Box. Toy Box has been a newly found favorite track for me, just because it's Sheila and Prince just going back and forth in the vocals. I love Prince's tuned down vocals to make it feel like, I'm somebody else, but you're not really nobody else. I know how you sing, brother. All right, we know how you sing, right? But also at the same time, Sheila is showing off her glamorous life persona in that song, right? I can't go to the club without my jewels. That is very funny to me, but also it relates to me to Sheila because it's like, yeah, I could be that guy too. I could be that swaggerific guy that's all about that. But you can't come next to me like that if you know who I am. So do Toy Box up again. This is Sunday morning. I'm not gonna go deep into it. But but that's my favorite track of the album, right? My least favorite track is Violet. I'm sorry, it's Bedtime Story. Again, funky track, but it's just it stays it lingers a bit too long.
I'm
It's
a
like, come on,
ballad
come on,
person, so that's the thing there. That's my whole thing. So yeah.
I feel you all day, right? But to me, it's like you could have put Holly Rock on this to close it out, but that's just me.
I feel about Bedtime Story the way D'Angela feels about Belle of St. Mark. And if you know, you know.
Yikes on the bike.
Yeah. So let's talk about Sheila's influence with this album. We're about to wind this down, so I have a few more questions. In your opinion, who are some artists today that carry Sheila's spirit musically, visually, and performance-wise? Uh-oh.
Janelle Monáe, I would say, for one. Janelle Monáe. Especially in her earlier releases. I was thinking of this is her second album, the first one. But Janelle Monáe is a
I don't know anybody funky like that
Because
nowadays.
that's where I'm having trouble. I'm thinking, I mean, I'll say Esperanza Spalding. I know she's bass and everything, but that's somebody that's out there that she's
You
got that
just saying that
energy. And
because you play the bass. I know.
well, I mean,
I
that's what
know.
came to my
I'm
mind.
hip to it. I'm hip to the Rare House Quake, honey. I caught that.
I'm gonna say the obvious. I'm gonna say her. You know,
Okay. That's fair. That's fair.
but you know what it is? Sheila, yes, even though she's a fantastic instrumentalist, she owns the stage. And I'll say the person right now that can own the stage is Doshi. Doshi can own the
Oh,
stage.
I
Yeah,
love
Janelle
those.
Monáe can own the stage as well. But I mean, listen, you watch that Grammys performance. It's like, wow, she on the stage. So if you add a Dochi and then as far as Spalding, her collaboration, boom, that's Sheila E. So yeah, it's kind of hard to pinpoint who it is now.
You know what, too, though, when I think about it, she hasn't done anything out in a while, but honestly, Santa Gold. Santee
Hmm.
Gold, Santo Gold, how you want to
Wow.
refer to her. And that, so she's a writer and producer, right? And so the sound she did, because, she wrote Reese's album, This Is Reese, as well as, God, I can never remember the name of the album, the one where she's like vomiting glitter. Um, she like it's like playing with the sounds and the voice and her content. Actually, to me, there's a bridge there. Like, while it's not as, I mean, it's percussion heavy and is a little different, but musically, sonically, energetically, I do see her as one of and then also her being a writer and a producer herself. I see her as one of Sheila's heirs, honestly.
And I wanted to go back really quickly, talking about Toy Box. I got from that when she's talking about Enigma Jewels, man. I got Morris Day vibes from that.
The
And
vocals gave Morris Day vibes too.
yeah, I just got Morris Day vibes from that, where she's trying to play up the masculinity part, her masculine side as well. So that's, it's interesting. And I meant to say that earlier, Randy, about Toy Box.
I mean, if you want to go deeper into it, right?
Mm-hmm.
Prince, is he flirts with the feminine and masculinity energy, right? And as proteges have to take a little bit of something from what Prince is doing or Prince is learning, which is the balance between femininity and masculinity, right? And you see that with Sheila E. I think Sheila E was the only one that can really matches Prince's / Morris Day / Jamie Starr persona of the I'm a lover, not a fighter, but don't mess with me because I could get down like this too because I'm fly. There's a reason why she's a glamorous girl. She's in the glamorous life, which is also funny because you look at it, Sheila E in the glamorous life, Sheila E in Romance 1600. So maybe is she putting on a play of being that masculine feminine? I don't think so. I think this is just straight Sheila. We all heard Sheila talk. Sheila's about that life, right? So yes, it complements what Prince was doing at the time, but also Sheila just took it as her own and made it into her own as well.
Just going back a minute, how many of you have watched the Sister Fate video, I'd say within the last few weeks or months? Oh.
I remember vaguely of the video. I remember Prince's pictures in there. The Purple Rain picture, I remember that in the newspaper. I remember that.
Oh dear. Because I was thinking about how in the video how she's anointing everyone with the wand. I don't know if you all remember that. If I could pull it up, I would, but I don't want to get fined because you know why I'm here, so I don't get fined. But in the video, and actually, if anybody who's watching or who is participating in this, put in the chat whether or not you've seen it. Tammy watched it yesterday, of course, with the cape. I know that is right up your alley, honey. But there's a part in the video where she's anointing people. She's Sister Fate. So I guess she is actually trying to say, well, you know, let me give you the goods, if you will, to move forward, to be this person. And I'm wondering, just from what you all know and what you all have experienced being part of this purple realm, how important do you think it was that Prince possibly gave Sheila, anointed her in a way, to give her the strength to, I guess, fly?
No, I was thinking about, like, so this is interesting. I was thinking about this, especially with the talk of people like, is Sheila E just seen as a Prince's protege? But we talked about her being a full artist before, a full-fledged artist, performing, doing things. Tammy, exactly. It was already in her. So what I think happened though, sometimes if you get around people, like they'll be like, oh my gosh, they give you permission or a window or maybe a mirror, a reflection of something else within yourself, and it helped you unlock a different part or access a different part of your artistry and creativity. And to me, I think that's what happened with Sheila and Prince. Like, while I think they both, it was um symbiotic with them, but I do think that, you know, she's like, let me just, sometimes it just gives you a little more freedom, right? Or just to do something different. Like, I always wanted to do this, but now I'm, you know, he matched her freak, you know, like the song says. Sometimes you find somebody who matches your freak, and it's not that it's, you know, they're creating you or forming you, but it's just again, allowing you to see something different and being like, well, let me try this and see how it goes. And that's, I think it's more like a key, lock and key on both parts, a mutual lock and key. I don't know what that's called, but yeah.
I have a question in the Q&A box from Vanessa. Do you think that when Sheila played the player type, was her competitiveness within the circle she was in?
Me more so when she was playing in the band, her competitiveness came out. If that's the question, oh yeah, 100%. Her competitiveness came out when she was performing. You know, I mean, and then again, also Prince fed into that competitiveness as well. So you got two competing people, you know, killing it on the drums, and they were both pushing each other to become better musicians, and that's my answer. So I'm gonna stay with that. Yeah, y'all can answer that.
Violet?
Yeah, I said that earlier, is that was one of my favorite things to see, is the two of them playing, you know, kind of not against each other, but against each other, right? On stage, the little smiles that they would have, and that whole thing. Love that. And when you are in your element, you're being your best self and all that. Yeah, you want to push other people to, yeah, let me see you be your best self too. Come up here with me and let's do this together. I love seeing all that. Yeah, I do think that her competitiveness came out on stage for sure.
I even add on too. I think Sheila E was the only one for the 30 plus years Prince has been doing this, that she's been coming back to his band or even cameos, even until like what, 2012? No, 2011, after the Welcome to America tour, when she was in those San Francisco, LA, and I think North Carolina shows as well too, that she showed up. So it showed that, like I said earlier, Prince needed Sheila more than Sheila needed Prince, because Sheila just gave something to Prince that Prince was like, oh, that's lighting the fire inside of me. I gotta go out and perform, you know. So that shows the testimony that Sheila was an important, not even a musician, a person in his life, and we should all believe in the lemon cake story. No, I'm playing with you. Let me start doing that.
I was kind of hoping we would get through this whole thing and lemon cake would not come up.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
Now, let's just go back for one moment. It's interesting that none of us have really seen the Sister Fate video in a while. What video do you think should have been made from any of those tracks on the album? I don't recall one for Bedtime Story. Was there? I don't think there was.
You know what I would like to see? It would have been nice to have just Prince and Sheila recording, like just one of those kind of videos where they're in the studio making the song for a Love Bazaar and him playing and the whole thing. I would like to have seen that.
No, I would have liked, you know what I would like? A long form, like a video story where they're going into different songs, but they're in this world. They're like in the forest and there's like an enchanted castle or like, you know, maybe a little wishing a pond or wishing well. And they're like playing different snippets of the songs and like they might have been playing the bass and the drums in the woods and Sheila's running through and then she's playing with them and like doing a montage of the songs, like to get immersive. Like I wanted more of this, like the background. I want this,
Yeah.
but in long form, telling the story. Now, I will say this, when I was looking at this, I was like, to sell it to the kids today, if this was the relaunch, very easy, right? You would do a filter, romanticize yourself, right? And so you get a filter and it give you like the romance 1600 glam and haircut as a gauzy filter, and then we need like for like a ballroom scene. It would be great, like some kind of like a ballroom like duck walk with the hands and the clothes. Like I could just listen, I could sell this today. Like, you know, marketing's not my forte, but if I had to, someone's like, sell this album today, I could do it.
Yeah, I'm not gonna
Right.
add on. DJ Mun Blue just killed it. Yeah, I agree with her. A full on video better than Apple 6 video. I agree.
Ooh, ooh,
I agree. Listen, that video was.
ooh. Okay, so let's wrap this up. Final question, and this goes out to everyone. In your view, what has kept Sheila Cecilia Escovedo in the game all these years?
Talent. You know, like, and I'm not even trying to be funny. When you asked the question about who could match her now, we literally had to put together 3 people to be her. You know what I mean? So yeah, I mean, when you can do what she does, and then she still looks amazing. Like she has all the things. That's what keeps her.
Absolutely. Randy?
Valid. I'm threw the mic down. I ain't talent and consistency and funk and talent. That's all I gotta say.
And aura, strong aura, and a strong constitution, and probably from her family, a very strong foundation in the business of music.
Ah, yes.
So I think that's also part of it too. I mean, all these things, talent first and foremost, but obviously being grounded and being able to move away from working with Prince intact, as many people were not as successful in doing that.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Do you think this album should be reissued?
I need a remaster ASAP. It's so low. Like, come on. I need Love Bizarre to be bumping. So if I could drive my car, I don't got a top down. But if I had a top down and I put the remaster in, that bass go all the way up and I'm driving outside and be like, y'all little kids need to learn about Love Bizarre. So yeah, I need a remaster.
All right, so I think that is it. I have more questions, but I'm going to open it up. We have about 2 minutes. I'm going to open it up to the chat. So if anyone has a question in the chat, please do so. I'm only going to read maybe the first two because we're about 5 minutes out. So if anyone has a question, another question that they would like to ask, you now have the floor. Or if the panelists have a question or another comment that they would like to close us out with. Matter of fact, one word, give me Romance 1600 in one word. Violet?
Yes, the lawyer to give you one word. I said talent, man, talent. That's my word for today.
Fantastical.
Funky as hell.
That's 3.
It deserves 3s. It deserves 3 words.
Chris Warney has a question. Who could play Sheila in a biopic? I can't think of anyone personally. It would have to be an unknown, I think, an unknown. And I think with a lot of things that are happening out now, that we're not going to even discuss, I think that there should be no a famous person attached. I think it should basically go in the same way that it did with Purple Rain. These guys were pretty much unknowns. Dr. Maury says Zoe Saldana, no. Let's just say Nina Simone, Party of One, no thanks. I don't care if she won an Oscar. Tammy says my niece in my head, Zendaya. I could kind of see that. Zendaya or Nicole Richie. Next. Anybody else? No? Well, you know what? I want to thank everyone who joined this morning. I want to thank D'Angela for giving me this opportunity to moderate this discussion. I really enjoyed it. Oh my God, y'all are letting Zoe Saldana have it. I'm sorry. I even mentioned it. Oh, geez. Oh my gosh. I'm so sorry I said that about Zoe.
So Tonya, just really quickly, there was one more question in the chat that I would love for DJ Monday Blue to answer from Kim Glenn. Which track from the album would you re-edit?
Oh, yes, I saw that. Good question.
Thank you. Thank you for that question. That's a good one. Honestly, it would be Mercy for the Speed of a Mad Clown in Summer, honestly.
Ooh.
It's because it's challenging, but it's a lot there. So I could see you breaking it down and like reordering it and extending some parts and just making it something for the dance floor. Maybe I'll put that on my maybe that'll be my ultimate challenge to-do list. Okay. All right.
Yeah,
Okay,
you
it's
have to let us
inspiration.
know. Let us know when it's done and if you're streaming it somewhere so we can let people know that you've done it.
For sure. Actually, I'm starting my lessons this week, so yay. Okay.
Awesome. So Tonya, you are such a brilliant moderator. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you.
Of course. And obviously our amazing panelists, Randy, who's rocking the flags and the neon, gotta love it. And we have DJ Monday Blue, who's rocking the vinyl. It's so important to see vinyl, especially in light of Record Store Day yesterday. DJ Monday Blue, did you partake in Record Store Day yesterday, or did you sit it out?
No, I set it out because I honestly, I was traveling. I had traveling back from a gig from Friday night, and I tend to do a lot more of that shopping online, to be very honest. Like, and when you know what I mean? I don't do Record Store Day digging, but like if they have it left over, then I'll get it. But yeah.
No problem. And what about you, Violet? Did you participate in Record Store Day?
I was grading papers. The end of the semester, so yeah, I was working.
Okay, no worries. And thank you so much, Violet, as always, for coming on. Really appreciate it. So we are going to take a 30-minute break to move our bodies, grab something to eat, hydrate, get some coffee, tea, take a 30-minute nap, whatever you need in order to come back for the Romance 1600 presentations that I'm super excited about from 11:30 to 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And we are going to have Tonya Pendleton as the moderator And we're going to start off with Chris Bournet, who has been in the chat all morning, loving that, and Aisha K. Staggers, as well as Christopher A. Daniel. So please come back at 11:30 and 30 minutes. Thank you so much, all of you on the stage.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank
Thank you.
you.
It was awesome. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And whoever just sent all those prayer hands, thank you. I love seeing the prayer hands, especially because it's Sunday. All right.
Hallelujah.
Yes. And we're going to end this session. Bye.